Hey everyone, and welcome to Hosted by AI, your go-to podcast where we break down global events, make sense of economic shifts, and look at how it all affects your life and the world around you. So today, we're diving deep into something that's been dominating headlines and boardroom conversations: the renewed tension between the United States and China, and more specifically, the revival of tariffs by former President Donald Trump. Yeah, tariffs, not the most glamorous word, but what's behind it is massive. We're talking about a global shakeup that touches everything from your smartphone to the clothes you wear to how small businesses survive in this crazy interconnected world. Let's break it down from the top. So what's actually going on? In recent weeks, the EU has started to reimpose tariffs on a wide range of Chinese imports. These aren't small fees either. We're talking tens of billions of dollars worth of goods, including consumer electronics, machinery, raw materials, solar panels, even toys and clothing. The reasoning behind this? Well, it's classic protectionism. The Trump-era philosophy is basically, let's make imported goods more expensive so that American businesses can compete and maybe even move manufacturing back home. The goal is to make the EU economy more self-reliant, especially after everything we saw during COVID when the whole world realized just how dependent it was on China. But here's where things get interesting and complicated, because this isn't happening in a vacuum. This is happening in a world where supply chains are deeply globalized, where companies rely on multinational partnerships to build and distribute products, and where the lines between made in America and made in China are blurrier than ever. Now we're going to discuss how this all starts to affect the global economy. When you add tariffs to Chinese goods, it doesn't just impact trade between two countries. It sends shockwaves across the entire global system. Why? Because China is the world's factory. Whether you're in the EU, France, Brazil, or Nigeria, odds are some part of what you're using, maybe even the thing you're listening to this podcast on, came from a Chinese factory. So when those goods get more expensive, inflation ticks up. Supply chains get stretched. Suddenly, manufacturers who were importing parts for $1 are paying $1.30. That price hike moves down the chain, from manufacturer to distributor to retailer to you. And this can lead to something economists call stagflation, where economic growth slows down, but prices keep rising. It's a dangerous place for any economy to be in, especially one still recovering from a pandemic, a war in Ukraine, and a general sense of economic fatigue. Now let's look at the corporate response. Big companies are not standing still. Apple, for example, has already started moving some of its manufacturing to India. Tesla has begun exploring operations in Mexico. Companies are hedging their bets. They don't want to be caught in the crossfire of a geopolitical trade war. But here's the thing. Shifting production is hard. It's expensive. It takes time. And China has built an infrastructure for manufacturing that's almost impossible to replicate overnight. We're talking about decades of investment, millions of workers, advanced logistics, and deep coordination between government and business. So yes, these corporations are diversifying, but they're also quietly absorbing some of the costs and passing the rest on to you and me. Now, what about the people who don't have huge legal departments or global logistics teams? What happens to the small businesses? This is where things get really painful. Think about small business owners who buy products from Alibaba or AliExpress to sell on Amazon or Shopify. These folks don't have room to negotiate new supplier deals. They can't just relocate a factory. They're stuck. And when tariffs raise the price of their products, their profit margins, which were already thin, evaporate. So now, they're left with a few options. 1. Raise prices, which might scare away customers. 2. Eat the cost, which might kill their business. Or 3. Find a new product or supplier, which takes time, trust, and capital. Many small business owners just don't have the resources to make that pivot. Some will survive, some won't. Let's also talk briefly about consumers. We're entering an era where the phrase "made in China" might become less common, but the cost of that shift will be paid by regular people. You might start noticing things cost a little more, or that certain products are suddenly harder to find. This is the hidden cost of economic war. It affects everyday life in subtle but real ways. Now let's zoom out, because this isn't just about money or goods. It's about power. This is part of a broader struggle between two superpowers, the EU and China, not just for economic dominance, but for technological political and cultural leadership. Tariffs are just one weapon. We're also seeing battles over microchip production, 5G infrastructure, AI regulations, intellectual property, and influence in the global south. What we're really witnessing here is a kind of Cold War II. And like the first one, it's not going to be decided overnight. It's going to play out over decades, across industries, and through policies that seem small on the surface, like tariffs, but have massive consequences underneath. So now we got to ask, what happens next? There are a few possibilities. One, this is just tough talk, and both sides will eventually return to the negotiating table, dial things down, and reach a new agreement. Two, the tensions escalate, and we see further decoupling, meaning a real separation between the U.S. and Chinese economies. Three, a new world trade structure starts to emerge, where countries form tighter regional blocs and try to become more self-reliant. That last one, it's already happening. Countries are talking more and more about building their own supply chains, supporting local industries, and reducing dependence on any one nation, especially China. And in a weird way, this pressure could actually lead to innovation. Companies might automate more. Entrepreneurs might look for smarter ways to create and deliver value. It could be the spark for a wave of technological and logistical breakthroughs. But the road there won't be easy. There will be casualties. Small businesses will be hit. Prices might rise. Jobs might shift. And the way we think about globalization, that everything is connected and easy, is going to change. So as we close this episode hosted by AI, I want to leave you with this. Tariffs may sound boring, but they're a symptom of something much bigger. They're a sign of a world in transition, one that's trying to figure out how to balance power, production, and progress. It's messy, it's complicated, and it's not going away anytime soon. Thanks for listening to Hosted by AI. If this episode gave you something to think about, consider sharing it with a friend or posting a quick comment about how global politics affect your daily life. Stay informed, stay curious, and I'll catch you in the next one.
Audio Jungle.